All right, Olivia, let's take a look at your paper MLA format first. This is not the same font as the rest of your paper, so you got to change that. My name deserves a space, so fix that. This was the 17th of October that it was turned in, and October should be spelled out. This devastating effects could literally be about anything, so you might want to be more specific and a little bit more creative with your title. Your introduction as a whole is pretty good. It follows a pretty good form. I would love to see you add on to this. Well, first off, I don't think it's very attention getting at the beginning. It's general enough that you could add something very specific afterwards, but you have this very, kind of plain statement, and then you jump right into Macbeth. So I really think you need something in between here to kind of bridge that gap a little bit more. So you talk about post-traumatic stress. And thankfully you bring up the event that happens, which is Duncan, which is good. You have this long quote about post-traumatic stress, which MLA format, whenever it goes on to the fourth line, you have to tab it down and, hit enter and then tab it over twice. All of the lines look like that. So that's what you got to do there for explaining that. Can you pare this quote down a little bit? Does it need to be that long? Something to think about. So after the incident, here's what happened. He becomes uneasy, he starts experiencing hallucinations, and he has angry outbursts. And then you get into your thesis statement, which I hate to tell you, it needs to be more specific still. I have a feeling that when I get there and start looking at what you're actually doing in your body paragraphs, to take matters in his own hands and change his future consequently led to that. I don't think that's a very good message statement right there. I think it needs to be more specific. So hopefully we can kind of guide you there once we start looking at some of these body paragraphs. Love to have a stronger topic sentence. Don't just say, here's one symptom that Macbeth has, but this one symptom does what to him? So after he killed him, he couldn't take back the deed. So now you're talking about guilt a little bit. You don't have, thanks for saying it's from this place and putting quotes around it, but you don't have an in-text citation. So that should come right after the quote and before the period. He turned into a different man due to his ongoing feeling of being tense. And this is where I'd love to get more specific. And I think this is what you're trying to do here, such as Macduff. Here is what I don't like. This is not true. He wasn't afraid of Macduff's son at all. He's afraid of Banquo's son, but not Macduff's son. So that's just an untrue statement there for that. He's just doing it simply as revenge. And when you get to the end, you really haven't explained too much yet as far as your thesis statement. He would not have been so sensitive to stress and felt the need to kill... Without feeling the effects of his decision to kill Duncan, he would not have been so sensitive to stress and felt the need to kill Macduff's family. That's not doing anything. It's not adding anything. What we really want to do is, this symptom caused a downfall. Why is this symptom important to his downfall? Why does this feeling tense contribute to his downfall? That's what we want to see out of that. This is probably better off up here. This is more of a transitional statement that goes up here. His feeling of extensive stress could relate to the fact that he was experiencing hallucinations that could cause the stress to substantially get worse. No comma there needed. All right, so you're going to talk about these hallucinations. He was fearful of that. You could use the quote, "There's none but he whose being I do fear." He hired murderers. No quote needed here. He saw Banquo's ghost, but this is actually in his apparitions during Act 4 with the witches, so that's not him seeing Banquo's ghost at the banquet. I don't know if that matters to you or not. Experienced other issues such as what? They're highly guarded, but explain this. You don't need quotes around the Department of Psychiatry. And where is that Department of Psychiatry? Is that like the United States Department of Psychiatry? Is that college's Department of Psychiatry? I don't know where you got this from. And you know why I don't know where you got this from? Because you don't have an in-text citation. So you have to do an in-text citation there. So constantly suspicious. And I think that would use that even before you get to Banquo, because that leads into what you're saying about Banquo. It leads into that quote I just said during his soliloquy. All of that could relate to that quote, but you bury it down here. Why I was constantly feeling uneasy and on edge. Large amount of stress can lead to getting easily angry at those surrounding you. Again, it's not really adding anything to your thesis statement. So I'd find ways to make that longer and more appropriate for your thesis statement. All right, so your next body paragraph is irritability and getting angry. Again, I want a thesis statement that ties it into Macbeth. He changed and started being the one more dominant one in the relationship after he killed Duncan, which is good. Again, give me a quote or something from there that backs that up. He has a new personality, which again, how's this with irritability and anger? You're just talking about a change in personality. Macbeth is quick to discard it in an angry manner, and I like this. I think it's a good example of being angry. But again, you haven't really talked about that quite yet. I mean, this is the first time you're really talking about that. And again, all you're doing is to relate it is just to say, oh, here's another thing that made him angry and has an effect of PTSD. So nothing in that paragraph that's really adding on to the paper or making it more, making it better to help it better develop the thesis statement. So that's going to need some work. All right, so here's your restatement of your thesis statement. You go through and talk about all of your main points, which is good. You got some comma issues here that we need to work on. Remember, only a comma conjunction with both sides are complete sentences. We don't use the word very. This is not the right patience. So clean up some of that language. You've already basically said this 2 or 3 times. And I don't know, I think that's kind of a weak way to end it. Some might not believe in receiving consequences for that. Who believes that no one should have consequences for their actions? I'm not sure anybody believes that. So you might want to work on that. All right, so works cited page. So this is literally Department of Psychiatry. Where did you get this from? This is interesting. I'd love to know more about that. It's in alphabetical order, which is good. Everything else looks fine for how it's laid out. I'm very intrigued by this, so you might want to make it more clear where this is actually from. Like this is the U.S. National Library of Medicine, but what is this? I don't know. So tell me where they actually got this information from. Olivia, some good stuff, but certainly, obviously, we need to tie that thesis in better, clean up some word choice, and make sure that we have a strong focus all throughout the paper.